Well, good afternoon, everybody. As part of Million Women Mentors, every year when we've had our national summit in DC, we have been so honored to host many governors, lieutenant governors, and US senators as part of our honorary chair effort that continues to this day after 6 years. This is always really a highlight for the MWM Summit, and it's no different this year, even though we're not in person. We are going to get to hear from a lieutenant governor and a couple of governors, and we're really excited to be able to share this with the audience today. First up, I am just thrilled to get to introduce to you the wonderful Lieutenant Governor of Connecticut, Susan Vicewicz. I've had a chance to chat with her and work with her tremendous team, including Cherie Phoenix Sharp, as well as the as well as their state chair, Carolyn Alessi, who have really been leading this effort in the state of Connecticut. You know, Connecticut was one of the states that came on a little bit later than some of the others, but they've come on with such a bang, and I think that's very much the credit goes to the lieutenant governor. Her work includes some really exciting things that you're going to get to hear about today from her as she leads the Governor's Council Women and Girls and has made STEM, and education a really cornerstone of this effort. So welcome, Lieutenant Governor.
Well, it is so nice to see you virtually. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited for this discussion.
Yes, well, you know, every year we talk to our lieutenant governors and our government leaders. You know, again, the whole idea was not to politicize the movement, but to use the platform from which you stand to amplify the importance of girls and women in STEM. And, you know, that has been so important to our movement in helping us move the education of what Million Mentors is, how we pull the groups together, and how we move them forward. So very excited to hear a little bit about, you know, why you think women and girls in STEAM is so important to the state of Connecticut. Maybe you can start off by telling us a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Well, one of the priorities that Governor Lamont and I have for the state of Connecticut is to eliminate the pay gap, the gender pay gap. And right now in our state, for every dollar that a white man makes, a white woman makes 79 cents, and Black and Latino women make less than that. And so we want to expand opportunity and equality for everyone. And we think that one way to eliminate that pay gap that we see is to get more girls and young women interested in STEM-related subjects. And so we have on our subcommittee, one of our 4 subcommittees on the Council of Women and Girls is dedicated to education and STEAM opportunities, with the hope that by getting young women prepared for careers in engineering, information technology, scientific research, math, that we will reduce that pay gap.
It's so accurate, and you're exactly right, you know, because our pay gap, I always say, this isn't about only an equity issue, it's about an economic equality as well. And I'm sure you know, because women in STEM careers earn 92 to 96 cents to a dollar, should be dollar to dollar, but we'll take it. And so I think that work can be very impactful, really, quite frankly, to your state's economy. So underneath that, I know you have really worked to also create opportunities for girls to get exposure, because obviously they need to do that at an earlier age. And I think during this pandemic, you had a wonderful coding challenge that I'd love for you to tell the audience a little bit about.
Sure. So one of the ideas that was brought forward by our Education and STEAM subcommittee in the Council on Women and Girls was to put forward a coding challenge. And we did that in conjunction with our State Department of Education. And as luck would have it, I think we started in May, and with a very little lead time, we were able to have 500 students from every grade through high school participate. And the challenge question was, can you come up with a computer program or an application that has something to do with COVID that would make life better in a COVID pandemic? And there was a high school student from Ridgefield that came up with the idea that they should put every COVID testing location and hours up on a website, which he did, and it was used. There was another young lady who thought that middle school students were really bored being at home, and she put together a whole group of arts and crafts and science topics for and projects for students to do at home. Another elementary school student came up with a great idea for an app, which was a little beeper on your phone to let you know when you came within 6 feet of someone. So those are just a few of the ideas, but the ideas were incredible. And it was very difficult for our judges to come up with winners. So we actually had some peer review. We had the students review which ones they liked the best. And we actually had a statewide conference call highlighting the various winners who just did an incredible job. And so the other thing that was interesting, because we allowed both boys and girls to participate. And until you got to middle school, more girls participated than boys. But what we found was from middle school to high school, fewer girls participated. So that's our challenge, and we are going to work on that in our upcoming Lieutenant Governor Coding Challenge, where we are going to have as partners the YWCA and Girl Scouts of Connecticut participate with us. So that hopefully is going to raise participation in our urban areas, but get more girls to participate, particularly in the middle school to high school portions.
I mean, that is so appropriate because, we hear girls, we like career paths where we're helping people. I happen to be an engineer, but, my father was an engineer, which is why I knew about it. And girls need to see those strong role models. And that's what a lot of Million Mentors is focused on, is getting more women and men really to help elevate what being an engineer is, or what being in a tech field means, and, and the impact that we have on society in this space. So I think what you're doing, helping these kids see that, is really phenomenal. Love to switch over to just a couple minutes that we have left and talk a little bit about, the importance of role models and mentoring, and, maybe a little bit about how did that impact your life in terms of your own career? And then also, how do you see that with your council and the corporate ladies and women that you have involved to really model this for the rest of the state?
So a couple of things. We also have a leadership subcommittee. And one of the things that the subcommittee thought was critical was to have a standardized statewide internship program. I've always had an internship program in the Lieutenant Governor's office and in the Secretary of the State's office. But we found that not all state departments had internship programs. So they've come up with a standardized intern opportunity. And I should say we have the most diverse set of commissioners we've ever had. It's very diverse, people of color. About half of the commissioners are women. And so we want our interns, our young people, to see these leaders in our state government in action. So that's something that we have planned. I am very blessed to have had wonderful mentors and role models in my life. And if I didn't have both men and women who helped me when I was a young lawyer looking at maybe running for office, I wouldn't have become a state representative, secretary of the state, and lieutenant governor without that mentorship. And I know how important that is. And so I try to give back to young people by mentoring them.
Well, I mean, I think everybody in our audience is going to have heard why you are a fantastic lieutenant governor, maybe governor one day, who knows, or even a higher position. Just thrilled to have this time with you. Thank you so much for your support of Million Mentors, to your team, amazing team who helps really to support this work. And we look forward to hearing more about your coding initiative for this year and how you are able to attract more girls. So on behalf of Million Mentors, thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you. And thank you for what you do, Sheila.
Thank you so much. Well, we have always been so excited to have our governors and our lieutenant governors join us, as you see, during the lunchtime. And we are very happy to announce that Governor Kate Brown was able to send us a recorded message about the importance of Million Women Mentors and the work that we are all engaged in. It is really wonderful to have leaders like these governors, lieutenant governors, step up and amplify our message of the importance of women and girls in STEM and the importance that that plays in states' economies. So I'm very pleased to introduce Governor Kate Brown.
Oregon adopted a statewide STEM plan in 2016 because STEM skills are essential skills. Advancements in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are transforming nearly every facet of life and work, and girls and young women can and should be vital contributors to that growth. Not only is STEM literacy integral to the requirements of daily life, civic engagement, and employment, so are STEM capabilities in analyzing needs, taking initiative, organizing efforts, and solving problems. And too many girls and young women are not afforded a path into high-wage, high-demand STEM professions. But we also have multiple organizations, from schools to nonprofits, that are confronting this problem head-on, like the Hermanas Conference, which welcomes more than 200 Latina high schoolers from throughout the metro area to Portland Community College. The Hermanas Conference seeks to change perceptions while inspiring underrepresented Latina youth to pursue studies in careers and technology and the sciences. Participants learn what it takes to be an engineer, scientist, or a technical professional through hands-on experiences and testimonials from STEM students and professionals. Or Roseburg High School, which has seen a 900% increase of women in welding. What's their secret? For the welding program at Roseburg High School, it was really simple. Buying gear that fit smaller hands and bodies, gloves, aprons, helmets, and face protection. Nothing tells you that you don't belong like protective gear that is not made for your body. Baggy gloves tell you that you're not big enough. Gigantic, ill-fitting helmets reinforce that you are taking up a spot that a boy should be filling instead. We have seen workforce demand increase for STEM positions. If we are seeing women fill these high-paying, innovative positions, it is our job to figure out how we can foster and encourage access to STEM. Innovation is the cornerstone of prosperity. STEM education is not just about filling jobs, it's also about creating jobs. Building an innovation-based economy is essential for the long-term competitiveness and prosperity of Oregon and her people. Diversity is our strength. The differences of gender, ability, race, ethnicity, and culture provide critical and diverse perspectives and voices to address today's complex challenges. Innovations and solutions emerge where different ideas, perspectives, and cultures interconnect. The bottom line is women make up more than half of Oregon's population, and yet only approximately 28.2% of those working in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM fields, in Oregon are women. When compared with the nationwide numbers of 28.8%, it may seem like Oregon is doing pretty well, but it's still not enough. I've spent my entire career surrounded by brilliant, innovative, and creative women. Our economy can only benefit from fostering these perspectives in every sector, including STEM and CS, so that we have a thriving Oregon for generations to come. As a lawyer who got her start in the mid-1980s, a state legislator in the 90s, and only the second woman governor, first LGBTQ governor of Oregon and the United States, I will tell you this. The road of my career was defined and supported by a multitude of incredible women mentors. Women like Governor Barbara Roberts, Senator Margaret Porter, Senator Avell Gordley, and former Secretary of State Norma Paulus, and so many more. These are smart, articulate, take-charge women who not only pushed me personally to succeed, but also championed my abilities and my leadership. They coached me through the next steps. They encouraged me to take opportunities they had heard about, and they spoke up for me when I wasn't in the room to speak up for myself. This is what women do for each other. Behind every successful woman, there is a group of friends telling her about a promotion she should apply for and copy editing her resume. That is how we make change on the ground. It's not always sweeping, widespread, or immediate. It's leaders giving historically underrepresented folks who are newer to STEM the tools they need to move up. And while we need women to lead the way, we must be cognizant of the critical need for racial equity and diversity in all of our Oregon industries. I know it won't be easy, especially now in the midst of a global pandemic. These are challenging and unprecedented times, and our historically underserved communities have been hit especially hard by the virus, as well as the economic effects of shutting down the state. Now, as we continue to reopen, we seek to focus on those who are all too often left behind. And by focusing on those who are most impacted by the pandemic, we have the opportunity to build a better Oregon for everyone. Look, we all know that mentoring matters. The ability to see someone who looks like you filling a role, performing a task, or being part of a group makes you feel like you might be able to do the same someday. I know this because I've been inspired by incredible public servants like Governor Barbara Roberts, Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, and leader Stacey Abrams, as well as lawyers like Anita Hill, and of course, the late, great Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We know that students need teachers who not only open doors for them, but reflect their experiences. That's why I'm committed to diversifying Oregon's educator pipeline. I've also invested $1 billion per year in schools with investments in early childhood education, access to STEM and CTE courses at every Oregon school, and mental and behavioral health services so that every Oregon student has the support they need to succeed from cradle to career. One of those students I think about is Shayla Edge, who I met while she was a fifth grader in Coos Bay. Shayla, a member of the local robotics teams, OMG, ORT, Minimizing Gypsies, won first place at the Intel Oregon First Lego League qualifying tournament earlier in 2015. We talked about her career goals. She wanted to become a veterinarian, and her interest in schools, computers, coding, robots, and Legos. She also had some thoughts on how to better engage students, including that businesses and community members assist with hands-on learning by sharing with students what they know. Support systems can make all the difference to protect, encourage, and advocate for young women and girls everywhere. We have to harness all the generational knowledge to create an Oregon that supports women in any field they choose.
Well, great. As we have been sharing with you during this lunchtime hour, some of the incredible work that our honorary chairs have been doing. It is beyond my pleasure to really get to welcome our next guest, Governor Gina Raimondo of Rhode Island. I'm a big fan of hers and have been for a long time. And the work having not only a woman governor, but also having a woman governor who supports computer science and STEM in the way that you have is really leading the pack. And so it's our really honor and pleasure to have you today as part of Million Women Mentors lunchtime session and talking a little bit about certainly the importance for women and girls in the STEM and computer science careers, starting, their entire pathway and getting them into these careers. So, Governor, welcome.
Thank you, Sheila. I am also a fan of yours and of the work. And as we were just chatting ahead of time, it's just so important. It is so important that we encourage girls from the time they're small to realize there's a whole world of science and engineering, computer science opportunities out there for them. So I think it's important and necessary, and I'm glad you're doing it.
Yes. So can you tell me a little bit about maybe some of your work? I know you have the CS for RI and other initiatives focused on STEM. Love to hear a little bit about, why you have engaged in this work and why it's critical for states, even pre-pandemic, but now even more so post.
Yeah. So it's important for so many reasons. So a couple of things we've done. A few years ago, we became one of the only states in America, and certainly the first, to teach computer science in every grade in all of our public schools. And it matters because the year before I became governor, there were something like 12 girls who took the AP computer science test in our whole state. And to me, that's a crisis. That's a problem, and the reason is because they haven't been exposed to it. We know when girls are exposed to science, exposed to engineering, exposed to computer science, they do incredibly well, but they don't think of themselves in that way. So anyway, we said, we're going to start them in kindergarten and every year all the way through. And since then, we've seen unbelievable increases in the number of girls, by the way, and kids of color taking the AP computer science test. We've also added a lot more around applied learning and experiential learning in high schools with a particular focus on digital skills and cybersecurity and computer skills. Because in today's economy, digital skills are essential skills. You can't get a good job without those skills. I don't care if you want to be a welder, you need to have digital capacity. If you want to be a plumber, when we were kids, you would climb the telephone pole and be a telephone company worker, and all you needed was a high school degree. Today, if you want to work for for a cable company, you need to be digitally literate. Anyway, bottom line is, we want girls to know they can thrive. We want girls to have opportunities in the economy. And so we decided we're going to teach them from the very earliest ages so we can expose them so they can get these skills.
So true. So true. And, as a woman engineer that I am, I think also the role models and making sure that girls can see themselves, as you mentioned, in these careers. AEW did a great study that showed that really girls and women like career paths where we're impacting society. Quite frankly, millennials do now today, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, unless we can show them, and I think that's been one of our real focuses around Million Women Mentors, is making sure that we can put mentors, men and women, up to these young girls and women so they can learn they can be in these careers. last week we got a report that showed 800,000 women dropped out of the workforce during this time. So as a governor, how are you addressing, because I feel like women are given the parental responsibility, some of the school responsibility, and they still have a job responsibility. How do we as a country and really as a state and a leader help to sort of make that not such a reality?
Yeah, it's a terrible statistic and one that I worry a great deal about. This recession has hit women a lot harder than it has men. And actually it's hit lower income folks a lot harder.
Sure.
So some of it is, I believe we have to have better policies, universal child care, universal pre-K, paid time off, flexible work, so that people can be caretakers for their children, for their families, and also be productive in their workplace. By the way, America stands out in the world as not having that. All over Europe, every other industrialized nation has these basic childcare, health care, maternity leave, paid time off. And America's just lagging to our great detriment. But look, here's the thing. In addition to that, we have to make sure that women have access to getting these skills and credentials. So I launched an initiative about a month ago. We put $50 million of our COVID relief money into an initiative called Back to Work Rhode Island. And we are targeting people who have been put out of work because of COVID. And we're providing them with free job training. And here's the key. We have commitments from companies to hire these people if they graduate the job training. And it's a lot of these jobs actually, because if you go to a company today and ask who they're hiring for, they all say digital skills, data analysis, statistics, computer science, design, exactly what you're talking about. So, and women get left behind in those. So what we're saying is we'll pay for the training. We're actually providing childcare and transportation during the training if you need it. And if you graduate, you'll get a job at the end of it. So I by the way, this isn't charity. Women are half the population, half of our country's talent, half of our country's ingenuity, half of our country's leaders. We can't afford for them to be on the sidelines.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, we are half of this country, yet we're only 24% of the STEM workforce and the computer science workforce. So, wow, can I just give your Ready, or whatever you called it, the work program you've instituted, a huge applause. That's amazing. I mean, really, because this is what we need to hear and what we need to do as a country is have real action, right? I mean, we've had a lot of talk so long and people have recognized, being in STEM and engineering and all that, it's great, great, great. But until we have real action like what you're doing, because I don't know if you know the data or not, but in the first 10 years of women being in STEM careers, 50% drop out. So, getting a very small percentage of higher level women in these careers. And so, to switch a little bit and talk specifically about what the work that we're engaged in with Million Women Mentors. And, you have some great leadership at the Rhode Island STEM Center with Carol I hope I say her name right, Girasho. Schooled me on saying it. It's a very unique name, but she has done some incredible work for Million Women Mentors tied to the STEM Center and the work that you've been doing as a governor, really to elevate the movement, having different monthly webinars and all that type of thing. But I would love to hear from you a little bit about, mentorship and what has that meant to you in your own career, got you to where you are, and how important is it that people learn that they need to also help the next generation?
Yeah. So I think mentorship is, in many cases, the difference between people making it or not making it, especially if you are a person of color or a woman or from a low-income background. You need to have a model. You might not learn at home how to be successful in a professional career. You might not even know what it means to be an engineer or a computer scientist.
Yep.
Or how that person acts. So if you see somebody, especially if it's somebody who looks just like you can follow them. You can learn from them. So I was very lucky right out of law school. I worked for a federal judge, a woman, a brilliant woman, my first boss in many ways. And I just learned by watching her how to behave, how to make a point, how to be professional, even, how to present yourself. And it makes a huge difference. So if you're considering being a mentor, you should do it. You need to do it. It'll make the difference. And, the deal is talent without opportunity dies on the vine. There's a lot of people with talent. And if you're a mentor, you can give them a chance.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, it is true. You can't be what you can't see. And so I think, really the way you're describing this is amazing. I know we could continue this conversation for hours, but in the world of virtual reality now, we are come to the end of our time. I just want to thank you so much for your leadership and for your willingness to use your position to elevate the importance of women and girls in STEM, to support the Million Women Mentors movement. You have a great team in Rhode Island, and love to follow and hear more about your CS4RI, how that continues, and the work that you're doing in that as well. So thank you again, Governor, for joining us this afternoon and for sharing a little time with us.